Thank you everyone for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful day. My name is TaradiseFound, and I am wondering why I'm not coming up as a speaker view, which is very interesting. All right, let's see. Everyone can just make sure they mute themselves. That's great. Thank you so much. If you're not speaking, wonderful. Okay. Can you guys see me out there? Hear me okay, Marla, everybody? Awesome, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. My name is TaradiseFound, and I'm so grateful to have some incredible leaders here in the revolutionary wellness warriors who are joining us to be a part of this global mission to help inspire the wellness of 1 billion people. I live here in Denver, Colorado, and the reason why I'm bringing you all together for this very exclusive, very VIP introduction to this company that I've aligned with called VOXXLife Technology. This company has been really pivotal. I wanted to show you guys, and I'm going to see if this will work. I have a screen share. I wanted to show you guys a video real quick. See if this will play. So Matt's been experiencing some spastic arm movements. Matt, will you show us what's been going on when you lift your arm? So you can see that. And he has NeuroVAX technology on right now. Now we're going to ask, Matt, will you put your shoes on?
Okay.
Now Matt has the technology in there. Actually, Matt, can you, before you put that one on, let's see the insert that's in there. So he's got the VOXX technology. Awesome, thanks a lot. And now we're going to see what we notice. What do you feel?
Nothing.
No movement.
No.
That's incredible.
In today's acoustic guitar.
No, we do not want that. All right, you guys. So this is a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, Matt, and I share that video with you just to show you there's some really incredible things that humans just haven't discovered yet. And we are so blessed that we're getting to have this next evolution of what does it mean to really experience true wellness on a planet. And I really believe that what's going on here with this COVID scare and everything is really shaking things up, where people are taking the time to research and do a little bit more information and gathering, right, on how they could heal themselves, and taking their power back and being an advocate and learning about alternative treatments is really what I have been a part of and creating in my new business called TaradiseFound. Now, this is an offering that I feel is absolutely a revolutionary product, and I'm so grateful that I get to feature Dr. Mark DeBrincat today on this call. He is the Vice President of this entire company. I know him on a very personal level. I know his wife and his kids, and I've been to his home. He's actually including me in a brain scan study that he's done, and it's amazing when he hooks me up to the electrodes and I can see, he's like, yep, there's the damage in your brain from your last accident, and we can work on that. We can help inspire your brain to heal itself. He has an incredible testimonial himself. Maybe he'll share a little bit of his story, but he was paralyzed and went head to head with an 18-wheeler. So the fact that he is alive on this planet is quite a blessing, but he's since began a lot of healing journey. And I mean, he mountain bikes and dirt bikes, and you'd never know anything was wrong with him. So he has a really incredibly miracle story to share. And I'm also featuring a dear friend of mine, Miss Marla Copel, here in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I'll let her share a little bit more about her story as well, but she's in her 70s, and she is spry as a daisy now. And she used to be such a high fall risk. So I'm very grateful for her to be able to share a little bit more. She was the person that introduced me to these incredible socks and technology and the patches, which Dr. Mark will share all about. And I brought on a dear friend of mine as well, Mr. Joe Catalano, who is a compound pharmacist out in Florida, and he's really excited about the Voxx. So, hey, Joe, if you can, come off mute for a second and tell us a little bit, give us 2 minutes on your background. What are you excited about? And tell us the future of what you see in terms of people taking back their own wellness.
Oh, absolutely. Being a compounding pharmacist, pharmacists are sort of known for counting pills, putting pills in a bottle. I tend not to run my business that way. I'm always looking for alternative forms of therapy, whether it's food as medicine, whether it's energy, as medicine and things like that to bring into my facility. Some products you may be familiar with. We offer cryotherapy for pain, inflammation and pain reduction. I have a beamer unit in the facility. Obviously, I work with hemp products for their benefits. I love the idea of essential oils. And then, of course, you know, energy and altering the body in healthy ways to avoid having to use medicine all the time. Just an example, you know, well, first let me tell you that it literally took me 2 minutes to decide I wanted to carry this product in my store. One, I did see, was it Matt or Mike? I'm sorry, Matt's video.
Oh, yeah, Matt's video. Yep.
Video. I saw that. And then I went a little bit further and I saw the video of a young woman, I believe she was with her husband. I didn't catch whether she had MS or some other condition, but it was clearly visible without the Voxx technology on that she would take 2 or 3 steps and virtually was falling into her husband's arms. She was out of breath. He then sat her down without the technology, and it took her numerous, it was almost like she was trying to coordinate her brain with her muscles, with everything to try and get up out of that sitting position. And it just wasn't happening in an efficient, you know, tireless way. Then she put on the socks and the armband, and it was just so dramatic, the change from her being able to rise on her own and then walking across the room, clearly with you know, still with some mild issues, but so dramatic. And it was like, you know, that was really that was the true video that said, I have to get this product in my store. I have the space for it. And then leading into medicine, one of the things that was mentioned too was its help possibly for treating neuropathy, which is nerve pain. It could be due to a number of reasons, from diabetic issues to, I see a lot of Vietnam veterans that were subjected to Agent Orange that suffer from severe neuropathy. They're put on medications. All of these medications cause drowsiness, put them in a fall risk category, you know, cognitive issues, things like that. And do they work? Yes, but imagine being able to either replace that or, as an additional therapy, be able to reduce their need for the oral medicines that are going to increase that drowsiness and that their falls and provide them the relief that they're looking for. So that's why I'm bringing it in. I have the space for it. It's just going to be a great opportunity. I'm going to use it for myself. I'm on my feet all the time. I do wear compression stockings, so I'm going to switch over to the Voxx compression stockings from now on. And again, it was said a long time ago. A few people said it, so I'm not going to quote exactly who, but basically, the medicine of the future is going to be energy and frequency, and this
That's
is
very exciting, right, Joe?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you so very much for popping on here. I know there's a lot of people that like yourself, and please, again, if you're not speaking, mute yourself if you would. All right, wonderful. So I just love to hear that so very much. Thank you, Joe, again, for your testimonial. And
Tara,
you're excited about. Dad?
Yeah, can I ask Joe a question?
Sure. Joe, Dad's got one question.
Hey, Joe, so you're carrying the product in your store, and can you talk about the feedback you're getting from your customers?
Okay,
I didn't tell that part of the story. Tara and I were on a conversation the other night for a few hours, and this was actually the second time she had mentioned the product. So after we had gotten off the phone, we were talking about other ventures that we're in. That's when I watched the video. So right now, due to a mild delay, but it says it's on the go, I have about 30 items in my cart to purchase to stock my facility. So right now, I don't have any feedback for you, but I'd love to be able to call you in a month or so and let you know what's going on. But I sell, there's a lot of being a businessman, a lot of products are flashed in front of my eyes on a continuous basis. And I'm very picky as to the products that I'll bring in and that I want to devote my time to. And this is one item that I think that if I'm willing to put some time and effort into it, it's going to be very popular for those that are looking for pain relief, neuropathy relief. I have a large group of tennis players. They're all in their 70s and 80s that would love to be able to find something that might be able to help them beat their friends in the next match. And I know that they're going to be open to something like this. So unfortunately, long story short, I don't have anything to.
Yeah, we'll get a follow-up video for that. And in the interest of
yes.
time, I do want to keep this kind of moving. So I'm going to request that we ask questions at the end if there's time, please. I know Dr. DeBrincat's on here for, we want to keep this short, and Marla as well. So thank you so much for coming on. Joe, again, thank you for the question, Dad. It's awesome to hear that feedback. And, we're here to increase the quality of life for people. So I wanted to bring Miss Marla Copel on. If you would, Marla, come on. Unmute yourself and let us hear a little bit about your story. Tell us your background and what you experienced when you tried the Voxx technology. You're an incredible leader here in the Denver, Colorado Springs area. I'm so grateful to be on your direct team and working in conjunction with you. Will you spend just a couple minutes telling us a little bit about your story, Marla?
I will, thank you, and I'll keep it short. But let's just say I was very active in my youth, with outward bound skiing, running, rock climbing, and I also damaged my ankles I don't know how many times. Had a car accident in my youth that required a hip replacement at the age of 60, and I've had a knee replacement from my lovely ski injuries. So I got on the product in 2017, but in that year, I had been worrying about my fall risk. I didn't dare step off a curb downstairs without holding on to something. And I didn't take walks anymore, definitely didn't hike, because I didn't have the stability in the ankles, and the pain was too great. So I'm thinking, okay, I got it. I don't want to go get another surgery, so I'm going to have to go to a cane. And when a chiropractic friend of mine introduced this to me in Denver, within 3 days, I had a loss of pain. I'd say I went to about 80% reduction, and definitely stability. And the more I wore them, the stronger I got. And you could see the differences, and my confidence in walking increased. And that's really great because I'm a fast walker. I don't act 71, I act 50 or less, and it just depends on the moment. But I definitely don't have all those physical qualities that I did when I was younger. And so living with a fall risk, you don't even understand until it's gone, that you get about 50% of your energy back because you're not concentrating on reducing that risk. That was an amazing stress relief for me. There were other benefits. I'll just tell you the most recent one after 3 years is the new immune system patch. I definitely have improved sinuses, and I'm talking improved sinuses. Day one, I thought I had a hole in the back of my head. I had so much feeling in my sinuses that I asked my husband, do I have a leak back here? So, and then the residual edema in my ankles is gone. I actually have skinny ankles and no arthritis pain. Now that's my experience. I'm not promising that for everybody else, but to go to zero was pretty phenomenal for me. So that's all I'm going to say. You can always talk to me, question me, and I'm going to help you have your experience. But I think my next job is to introduce Dr. Mark. And I believe he came on with the company in 2017 because he was probably one of the most open-minded neuroscientists. It took him a while, but he was still open-minded to finally test the socks before and after using his neurofeedback machine. And when he saw that there was a 7-second, and you saw that in Matt's video, that was actually just a 7-second connection to the midbrain to bring that result to stop his tremor. So when he demonstrated homeostasis to himself, He was on board, connected with the owner, and he has led over 5,000 research, neurofeedback research studies plus. And most engaging storyteller, very good researcher, and very good connector of the doctors we need to do our research. So actually, Dr. Mark's story is so powerful. I want him to have all the time, and I want you all to just sit there, and if your jaws drop, I won't tell you.
All right, well, thank you for that, Marla. I guess I'll just start off first by just sharing a little bit. Let me kind of change that angle a little bit. Sharing a little bit of my story. I've been a chiropractor since '94. And in '97, my wife and I were in a head-on collision with an 18-wheeler. She broke 3, 4, and 5 in her neck, shattered them. 95% of the people with her injuries are usually killed immediately, and the rest are paralyzed. By the grace of God, she did amazing. She had all those vertebrae replaced with the cadaver shin bone, bolts and brackets around it. And within just a few short months, she was doing much better and then taking care of me for years. So I was the passenger in the car, and I fell asleep, and I woke up to her screaming, you know, we're going to die, as we were in the rain, spinning through oncoming traffic on the expressway down in Georgia. And so we missed about 8 different cars, and then the last moving truck was coming right at us, and I knew we weren't going to miss it. I braced my legs on the dashboard, and in doing so, I suppose saved my life, but also shattered my pelvis in half, ripped all the muscles off my legs on both sides, and lost 1/3 of my intestines, damaged my spine in about 11 different areas, and had a whole bunch of other damage, and was basically told I wouldn't walk again. And I'm a fighter. So I worked really hard at walking again, and I did walk after a few years, but very limited, lived in pain for a long time. Then unfortunately had another accident in '08, which put me in bed for 2.5 years, 7 back surgeries. They finally put a computer in my spine, in the top of my chest here, so I just wouldn't feel anything from there down. I had no feeling in my arms and legs, but I had stabbing pain from head to tail. And then my hands and feet were just burning broken glass 24/7. So after being super stubborn and going through, about 14 years of not even having a Tylenol, and I just had to know pain was inevitable, suffering is optional, and I was choosing not to suffer. And so as soon as I started medicating myself, I knew that, you know, the whole goal of getting out of my chair wasn't going to happen. And so I really fought that for probably too many years, and then finally succumbed to it, let them medicate me, and all the surgeries with the computer and all of that. They finally put the computer so I just wouldn't feel anything anymore. It was like their last ditch effort. So, you know, fortunately my family was very strong and motivating, and, you know, encouraging me not to give up, and that I'm going to find that breakthrough, just hang in there, don't give up. And so we tried lots of things. I went outside the box to every doctor anywhere that I could possibly imagine would help. Went through all the surgeries and tried out that whole route, went through different medications, tried that route. Eventually, yeah. Oh, eventually neurofeedback, I learned that I could do it for hours a day instead of just like 20 to 30 minutes twice a week. And I had done that in my clinic for years, and tried it on myself when I was disabled and didn't really see the results. So I kind of gave up on it. Then I found out that I could do it aggressively every day. And so I did for hours a day. And within a few months, I could start doing things on my own and not needing assistance to get into the car or get dressed or get cleaned up, and just a whole bunch of amazing breakthroughs that I had with, you know, aggressive neurofeedback, and then essential oils, then Beamer, then other things. And so I had a bunch of breakthroughs in the matter of about 2.5 years that went from completely disabled, never going to walk again, live in pain for the rest of my life, to golfing, dirt biking, mountain biking, and finally, after 17 years, got my life back. So since 2014, I've been super passionate after I got my own legs back. And I've been doing neurofeedback for a decade prior, but it was after my big breakthrough of all of that, I started really doing a lot of in-home training where I'd lease equipment to people and they'd be doing 100 or plus hours a month. So needless to say, I vetted and tested lots of products, whether it was a PEMF or whether it was other electrical devices or whether it was oils or nutrients and so forth. And, you know, we do brain mapping where I can literally record 19 channels simultaneously around the brain and build a 3D image of the brain's neurology and tell you exactly what's happening as if I've been reading your mail your whole life. And so it's really uncanny when you really get a look inside and you can see which networks and which fibers are working and not working. And so when I had a patient a few years ago that gave me the first pair of Voxx socks, she says, "Hey, these are brain socks. You need to give these to all your patients," because I was helping her son. And I kind of chuckled at that, like, brain socks, okay. So I got a few pairs. I tried them on a couple of times. I didn't know about a balance test. I didn't know you could do any test. I was already out of pain at that point. So it wasn't like I had any miracle breakthrough when I was trying it. And so several months went by and I kept hearing about them and I kept hearing about them. And she kept asking me more if I vetted them yet. So finally, just to appease her, I went and did a brain map on myself, slapped the socks on, did it again. I would have been super impressed with the 5% change. I literally had a 48% change in my map. And I fell out of my chair like, okay, wait a minute. I must have uploaded somebody else's map. That wasn't mine. So I deleted them all and uploaded them again and was unbelievably amazed. So now I'm trying to get a hold of Jay, who had been trying to get a hold of me for a few months. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to sell socks. So I'm not really into that. So I was being really resistant. You know, hefty skepticism is healthy at some point. But now I've seen it, so I can't see it and then not take action on it. So I was doing a conference in Atlanta that next weekend. So we met halfway in Atlanta and then, you know, just two brothers from another mother. I mean, it's like we've just been such close friends ever since. It's like, I can imagine him knowing what he has and spending 10 years trying to tell the world about it. And everybody's like, yeah, you're not a doctor. That's not what happens. No, that's not what neurology. Look at the textbooks. That's not what happens. Well, because of all the research we've done in the last 2.5 years, they're literally rewriting all the textbooks now and putting new chapters on the phenomena of VOXXLife, because nothing's ever been able to change certain parts of the brain that we're seeing, certainly not to the p-value of 99.999. Dr. Thatcher, who's one of the world's most renowned brain physicists, I guess you would call him. He's the one who invented all the software and the hardware, got 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards 10 years apart for doing those things, exclusively works with the military, all the concussion index and post-traumatic stress disorder and all of that. And so we literally have all his software that is all FDA approved as the best, most accurate software for doing research. And so that's what Jay bought me, and we upgraded all my equipment once I was on board as the VP for clinical strategies. So these last couple of years have just been a whirlwind. I still practice chiropractic, neurofeedback, biofeedback, and all of that out of a hospital here in Denver half the week. And then the other half the week, he has me jet setting all over the country, meeting with CEOs, professional sports teams, you know, all different military stuff. And it's been super amazing and really privileged to be able to work with all these high-end athletes and be able to brain map them, put our tech on, watch their reaction to it all. And then, you know, basically push the envelope to, you know, help 1 billion people change healthcare as we know it. You know, even Dr. Thatcher is quoted saying this is the best medical breakthrough he's seen in 50 years. And here he's the most phenomenal breakthrough guy of being able to see stuff in the brain that we've never been able to track before. So it's been super exciting, super interesting. As Tara said, there's over 6,000 maps we've done into these studies. We've done a study on the HPT technology, which is the human performance technology, which is the socks, insoles, and the Harmony patch. And we've done them with all three. Now here's just something to add to that. I've done maps with just the patch. Take the patch off, put just the socks on. Take the socks off, do just the insoles. All the maps line up perfectly as if you had the same thing on each time. Then we've added socks and insoles, and then socks, insoles, and patch, and done triple redundant maps. And again, they would all still overlap as if you just had the one original tech on. Now that happens the majority of the time. However, there are times when people have injuries and things that might inhibit the neurology between where you're putting that patch or sock or something on and the brain. So for instance, if you had a shoulder injury and I'm putting the patch on the right arm and it has to go through that injury, I might see a 30-something% change in the brain. If I take it off and put one on the other arm and remap 10 seconds later, I'm going to see a 60-something% change in the brain. So you always want to use what's going to be most compliant, first of all, something that you know they're going to wear, but also you're fitting them for success to have the best results the first time they're trying it. So we did a 1,000-person clinical study with diabetic neuropathy. And these were all people that had pain level 4 or higher in their feet. And within 20 minutes, 72% went down below a pain level 2. Within 3 days, 91% were below a pain level 2, which means sometimes pain occasionally. Now, here's the thing. You take the socks off, the pain will come back immediately. If you wore them for a month, you could take them off and last for days before you felt any discomfort. So that led us on to another study that we did that we're looking at the long-term use of wearing the product. And I always knew it's like neuroplasticity. So I have patients doing, I already mentioned, over 100 hours of neurofeedback a month. And when we map them between 10 and 20 hours of training, we would see about 10 to 25% overall change in their neurology as improvement. And they would jump up and down and be excited about anything over 5%. But when we started using the tech, with all of our patients going through this aggressive program, we're seeing 40, 50, 60% change every 20 hours. And so it's like they're able to skip grades and go right to the next grade of training. And we're growing new tissue in the brain, so aggressively. So when we're wearing this tech 24/7 for a year or for 2 years, it's equivalent after a year to the same thing I see after 100 hours of aggressive training in a month. And so we can help a brain come more and more and more online and connected and communicating to itself over time versus what's actually happening with everybody else is it's slowly declining, and to the point that it slows down so much we can't grow new tissue in there anymore. So that was the flagship product that we have over close to 5 million people now using. And of course, Facebook has a video page where, you know, you have testimonies of over 47,000 people. And these aren't people trying to sell socks. They're just customers. They're like, look at this miracle, like my arm, and all of a sudden it doesn't do that. I've had people that have paralysis in parts of their body. We put the socks on and all of a sudden they can move their leg, which they hadn't been able to do. And they're like, that's crazy. Was it the adjustment or was it the socks? I'm like, take the sock off. Can you move the leg? They're like, nope. And I'm like, well, then it was the sock. Let's keep that on for a while. And so I specialize with brain and spinal trauma patients. That's pretty much, you know, my scope of where I love spending my most time, because these are people that are searching for a breakthrough. So when we think about VOXXLife, this is a wearable neurotech company that specializes in bringing the nervous system back to homeostasis. Now we do that through balance stability, and that HPT, which is the Harmony patch, the main thing that the first study we put out on that produced was that the dominant frequency, which is this part of the brain that the delta brainwaves and theta are like the neural net that holds up the brain. This is where everything is built on. And this tells us what your true potential is. And in 100% of the cases of dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, ALS, Lou Gehrig's, all of these different neurological conditions, they always have that area degrade first. And so that area slows down first, and that's considered strike 1. Then there's 2 other parts of the brain map that tell us strike 2 and strike 3. As long as we can catch the people before strike 3, we can neurologically turn the situation around. once it gets too far down and it slows down too much, we just can't grow tissue in there. And that would go the same with our socks and everything else. If we can get the tech on people before they have the problem, they're less likely to have the problem. So then the second product that we released was cognitive boost technology. Now this is a different code, and this takes about 20 minutes to kick in, and that's what Marla is wearing there. And so this one is only triggering 10 cognitive networks in the brain only. So think of the first one is the entire body and everything. Okay, the socks insoles is brainstem. Brainstem's like Houston control of all your neurology coming in and out of your brain. So that's what Voxx HPT is, human performance technology. Cognitive boost surpasses that and goes right to the frontal and occipital lobe only. Now, these are the areas of the brain that we need to engage ourselves in neurologically for cognition, visualization, memory, recall, pattern recognition, speed, accuracy, stamina, decision-making, cognitive stamina. All of these things are with those two regions of the brain. So the first product will do brainstem, and then it just innately gives you an extra 30 or 40% to go wherever your brain is most dysregulated. And so we'll see that go to the hot spots or the lowest spots in the brain immediately with whatever else it has past the brainstem. So brainstem on everybody. That's also our balance and stability. That's why that balance test works so well, because it's opening up information flow through the brainstem, and now you can respond faster and more, vigorously to any challenge because of the brainstem. Now, cognitive functions take a little bit longer to get in there and to enhance, but we're seeing 41% change with that cognitive boost technology. Now, just this last month, we released the NeuroVAX, and this is a technology that's only going after very specific parts in the brain like the other one, but this is just your immune response parts of the brain. So Brodmann area 24 and 25 are what connect the vagus nerve, and that's the gut-brain connection, giving information from the gut and the bacteria to the brain so it knows what it needs to produce enzyme-wise, protein-wise, and such. So that's a big response for your immunity. And then we have the thymus and the spleen and other glands and organs that have immune reflexes. And so when the nervous system recognizes something, we want that neural information communicating to all of the areas of the body that deal with immunity so that that immune response and those reflexes are sharpened. So what we're seeing here is a physiological change in the body within 1 hour. And we're looking at this through blood. And so we can take dark field microscope and look at the blood coming out before as a baseline, 1 hour, 12 hours, and 24 hours. And what we're seeing is just remarkable. Even with all the subjects using their cell phones all day and being exposed to EMF and everything else, they're able to maintain clean, clear, beautiful, functioning blood. Now that means that their immune response is better. They're going to respond to threats faster. They're going to get nutrients and oxygen into areas better. We're seeing all sorts of crazy testimonies, from blood pressure to arthritis pain to sinuses and allergies to hiccups to, you name it. And that's just going to continue to grow as people's blood functions better. The body then can heal itself in ways that it hadn't been able to. So that's enhancing our neural immune response. Now, I was initially thinking this was going to be an immune system booster. So we have immune regulators and boosters. The regulators are things we do every day. Boosters are things we do when we feel threatened or we need extra protection. After seeing blood work on countless subjects, it's very clear to me that this is a regulator. This is something that once you see even somebody that's healthy that has no symptoms, I still see junk in my blood and things happening to my blood that isn't optimal. And so to find something, and I do a lot of things every day, and lots of therapy, lots of oils, lots of nutrients, to try to maintain the healthiest version of myself that I can. So to find something that can even kick it up a notch and take that to the next level, my booster mentality immediately turned into a regulator mentality with that product. And then we have another product that I'll give you a sneak peek to, that was just released Thursday, but nobody's seen the video yet or this presentation yet. But this is the REM patch, so it's no doubt that over 50% of the world's population just doesn't get enough sleep. you know, and that is a big issue. You know, different ages of our life, we need and require different amounts of sleep, and that's really important. I'm not going to go into this whole presentation, but we go through all the different stages of sleep. Deep sleep is where your body heals. REM sleep is where your brain heals. And so it's super important that you get enough time in each of those cycles of sleep in order to repair and rebuild the cells and the damage that we get to during the day. And so, you know, ask yourself the question, how consistently and how well do you sleep? And how well do you wake up? Do you wake up feeling refreshed, alert, and awake? You know, there's lots of different ways of tracking your sleep. Lots of things interfere with our sleep outside of your diet and things that you eat, just noise in the room or light being in the room other than red light. The temperature of the room, people moving and movement in the room, sleep positions, EMF, and all of that stuff we're exposed to. Just pain will keep you up. I was an insomniac for 17 years and never slept more than 3 hours, and it was never even consistent. So I fought for ways to find sleep. And once I found an oil or a nutrient or some device or something, it seemed to be a miracle the first night, but I couldn't be consistent with it. So that's a big problem. So needless to say, when Jay came out with the REM patch, you know, my little ears went straight up like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting, because I have been looking for the solution to getting a consistent night's sleep for decades, right? And so this is finally an answer that we found. So there's several parts of the brain that control and regulate different stages of sleep. We are very fortunate to be able to do brain mapping and really identify underlying causes of why people don't sleep. And so whether it's the beta waves ruminating and keeping your brain active, we see that calm down. Coherence is how we share information throughout the brain. And here, the more lines, the worse it is. So we want to see no lines at all. And when we're looking at the delta waves, this is the predominant brain wave when you're in your deep sleep. And so to go from that busy of highs and lows on the left image to the right image in just 30 minutes after putting the patch on, it's no wonder your people are logging in 2.5 hours of deep sleep every night that they're wearing the patch. Now, and that's me included. And my average deep sleep is between an hour or 40 minutes to about an hour and 10 minutes is my max. And since I've had this patch, I'm logging in 220, 230, 240 of deep REM, more REM than I've ever had as well. Coherence is the theta waves. This is your REM sleep. And so if you have neurological dysregulation in either of these areas, your sleep's going to be very inconsistent. And so to be able to wake up these parts of the brain that you need to wake up when you're dreaming, this is the brain healing time when you're doing all of your dreaming and getting into that repair and rebuild mode. Then we can look at just alpha waves. This is, again, a fast brain wave, makes you sit there and not be able to turn your brain off. So to see a very busy brain get so calm is exciting. And I'm not going to keep going into it, but we look at different things like the amygdala. The red nucleus is what paralyzes you while you're asleep so you don't run under your sheets. All things, different parts of the brain that are regulating different aspects of our sleep. And so we're seeing amazing changes before and after, where their body is finally healing. So people are saying, hey, I woke up, my arthritis pain didn't hurt. Okay, was it the NeuroVAX patch or was it the REM patch? Well, it could be either, or it's definitely both, because when you get more healing, when you get more sleep, you're getting more healing. 75% of all the new cells that are laid down in one day happen in that 3 to 4 hours of deep and REM sleep. And so it's imperative that you get into that good sleep and you find ways to do it consistently without having to have chemicals, drugs, and electricity and things that, you know, could potentially, you know, have unwanted side effects. And so that is our REM patch, and that is sleep optimized, optimized sleep technology, OST. Is going to be the abbreviation for that. And then we also have another new one coming out next week. That's a meta patch. And this is for people that have been trying to lose weight and they get stuck at a certain plateau or what have you. And it's going to connect the central nervous system to the metabolic system. And so it's going to enhance that neural connection and allow them to communicate better and increase metabolic rate without increasing heart rate. So we'll have some cool studies and more videos and things on that. We just made a video this weekend for the REM patch for all of you to be able to share. It still has to go through compliance and get signed off on. So that'll be coming shortly. And then there's one more patch coming out that I'm going to leave as a mystery, because that'll be out in a few weeks. And so there'll be 5 patches. All of them come in a month's supply for $60. And you can have a smart auto ship where you can have 1, 2, 3, or however many patches you want at $60 per. And then you can change it each month. Okay, if you're one that doesn't need a certain patch all the time, like the Harmony patch, because I wear socks and insoles most of the time, I wouldn't need to replace that every month. So I might get a REM patch if I don't have trouble sleeping. I might only use that if I'm having a hard time sleeping. Put it on, and then I'll be out the rest of the night. I really get addicted to having amazing good night's sleep. So that's going to be one of those things that I'll probably wear every single night as well. Even though I get fairly decent sleep anyway, I'm just not logging in enough hours of deep and REM. And so the deep is the one that everybody struggles with. REM, most people will get because your brain needs that to process emotions and memories. And just to kind of clean up the stuff that's not supposed to be there, like all the things you looked at throughout the day that's irrelevant, it needs to kind of prune all those memories. And so we need more REM than we do deep. But once we get enough REM, we're not going to ever get extra REM, because we'll just go into light sleep for the rest of the night and burn it there. So it's really neat to find something that for the first time, I could actually have more than one night in a row and mimic the same results. Because even when I find the right essential oil combination and I get a great night's sleep, I do that same thing the next night, and it's like, it's indifferent. It's like, I thought that was the ticket. Why did that happen versus not? So needless to say, it is super exciting to be able to introduce people to something that's so safe and simple and natural, and have the ability to have such a huge impact. I think about all the suffering I did for so many years. I was choosing not to suffer, but I was in so much pain for so many years that was unnecessary. If I had something like this, I could have found that next breakthrough so much quicker and be able to overcome things so much faster. So we have the ability to do that now, and to help a lot of people do the same. And, you never know how far reaching the things you say, think, and do are going to affect the lives of millions of people tomorrow. So it's great to be part of a mission of something that's so much bigger than us, as we can say that, and yet to be so simple that literally everybody can afford it. A lot of the cool things where I had the biggest breakthroughs, these were technologies that cost me and my family sometimes tens of thousands of dollars. And so, to be able to help somebody for $2, or even, a $35 pair of socks that they can wear for the next year, is truly amazing. So we fit people for success. I try to make sure they have, their couple favorite pairs of shoes that they're wearing most of the time. Let's get some insoles in those. And then what types of socks do you wear most of the time? Let's get you 2 or 3 or 4 pairs. So you're not only having to wear the same pair and wear it out so fast and then wait for laundry and everything else. This is your life, and it's your brain. And it's, people invest so much money into getting a good mattress because they understand how important sleep is to get the body repairing and rebuilding. Well, this technology, no matter which one you're putting it on, is rebuilding your body's neurological component. And your neurology is the #1 most important part of your entire body, because it guides and dictates the function of all 100 trillion cells every single second. And it does it all in the dark. And so the human body is just so fascinating. We're able to find things that can basically biohack in, cause no harm, but free up neurology to just do its job. Okay, we should be able to have our neurology function normally, but we live in a time that we're exposed to chemicals, toxins, fumes, heavy metals, chronic stress. We have such a pressure on our lives to respond to this thing. Every time somebody texts, like, hey, I've been trying to get a hold of you for 7 minutes. What the heck? It's like, what happened to the day when I would tell you I'd be home at 6, and it was like, I don't need to get on that whole rant, but we live in a time where things are so fast and we're being bombarded and our cells are being bombarded. So it's more important now than ever. And I think everybody being at home lockdown gets that. You know, it is about immunity. And if we just focus on building the immunity, we're not going to be a statistic. I've been preaching that my entire life. Okay, the things that you do now and the things that you're exposed to now is going to determine the function of your cells the next time around. Each cell replaces itself in a different interval. Your eyeballs only take 2 days. You have brand new eyeballs. Your throat only takes 2 months. Your gums take 2 weeks. Your heart takes 6 months. Your lungs take 8 days. These tissues are constantly repairing themselves. And so when we have better neurology, we have better biology, better chemistry, which equals better physiology. So, you know, by addressing the nervous system first on any one of our products, it's going to allow our body to finally do what we've been trying to get it to do: heal better, heal faster, stay well longer, and don't age and don't have unnecessary health problems. You know, one of the main reasons I survived my initial accident is I was super healthy going into it. You know, it's like when you are healthy going into problems, you can adapt and get through them and get past the other side much quicker than somebody that has a lower compromised immune system now getting sick. You know, it's much harder. It takes a lot more work, takes a lot more discipline to build health in the body than it does to maintain and keep it. This is just a product that's going to get people there at an exponential rate, much faster, much more efficiently, and a whole lot less toxic to the body, you know, from a lot of approaches people do to just try to get relief. So I could just sit here and rant all day long. I know you said 30 minutes, so I think I went more than 20. So I'll turn it back over to you, Tara.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mark DeBrincat. It is just such a gift to have you on board leading this mission. I mean, this wellness revolution, like you said, helping people recognize the things that they are missing, the basic building blocks and the neural pathways for your brain to light up. And I've, you know, been so blessed to be able to see you speak at events and things. And I know how incredibly valuable your time is. And when you talk on stage about how these technology, you know, I think people understand our computers, right? Sometimes our computers are glitching out and we need to push Control Alt Delete and do a hard system restore. And I've heard you talk on stage about how this technology it's hacking our nervous system in a way that it's resetting so that we're not continuing to loop into those negative mindset, those negative thoughts and all of the programming and things that really affect us. So I'm grateful that you talked about the EMF exposure as well. And, you know, that to me, what's really exciting about this new NeuroVAX patch and seeing that the rouleau under the microscope, the sluggish cells coagulating, you know, you think of the blood as the river of life. We've got to keep it moving. When it becomes dammed up and stagnant, that's when people start throwing clots and strokes and things, right? So we want to keep that blood moving quickly, and to see that you've put that patch on and can see immediate changes in the blood, that those cells they're broken free and they're just moving again. It's such a miraculous thing. And when you can help people get a good night's sleep, like you said, with what's going on right now, we've got medical personnel who are working overtime, first responders. My father is a police officer. I know you guys are doing studies on especially even the e-smarter sleep. I don't know if you have 1 minute just to tell us about I know there's a lot of golfers who might want to take some slicing out of their equation on their golf game, and the snipers study that you guys are doing for the Israeli military. I think that's really cool, showing the increasing in, what can you tell us about what you've seen when people put these technologies on and apply them?
Well, with the golfers, and we worked with some big golf companies as well. Not at liberty to mention it yet because we're under contract, but it's been phenomenal. So what we would do is I have the dry cap for the brain mapping, and so it's a wireless cap, no gel and any of that. We can put it on, and I have a range of about 50 feet. You know, from how far they need to be to me from my computer. And so we would literally get out on the course with these pro golfers, and we would set up 3 runs of holes of balls, you know, towards a hole. There was 15 balls each. So there's like 5 balls down 3 runs. And they were 5 yards apart from each other. So they're starting, I guess, 20 yards, 15, 10, and 5 yards. So they come in, they start at 5 and go out, and then they do the other 3 lines. And so they're basically all doing the same thing. And what we would see is, even before we put the tech on them, their brains are all pretty active. And then as soon as they went to putt, every one of them, it's like ninjas. Their brain just gets dialed in, and it's like perfectly beautiful, small, coherent lines. They make their putt, and then it kind of goes back dancing around a little bit. And then they get to the next putt and everything dials in. So obviously they're pro golfers. So they have the ability to dial in at will whenever they want, which was great. And we kind of expected to see something like that. We put the sleeve on them. The brain stayed calm and relaxed even when they were walking around between putts. So it just stayed in that zone for the whole duration of all the putts. And so that was a phenomenal experience. And we did the same thing with the military. We worked with some snipers, and we would have them go through a sniper course shooting while I'm mapping live to see how well they can get focused and stay focused on target. They did it with simulator guns that had laser targets, and so there was no percussion noise. And then they ran through the whole thing again with silencers on real guns and real bullets. And then we would have them get on a treadmill and run for 5 minutes and get their heart rate up really high, and then jump off and go through and shoot again real quick. And so we're seeing the response before and after shooting, and then after an adrenaline rush. And then we would put the sleeve on and repeat all of that again. And it blew their minds. I mean, they would have been impressed if they saw a little bit of change on them. But you're having guys that would shoot 15 shots in like 12 seconds and have their pattern be this big at, let's call it 25 yards. And then 6 seconds and the pattern's down to the size of a quarter. Again, 15 shots in half the time with a tighter pattern. And that's the biggest thing that rocked their world, because anytime they go faster, they're not able to readjust and reassess the scope at each trigger pull because they're going too fast. And so they're just trying to hold it in focus as still as possible. And to be able to see that on several different level shooters. We even had a shooter come on that was a novice that she never shot a gun before. And we're putting these machine guns in her hand, and to see her anxiety and the stress and the initial response to, you know, grabbing a weapon like that and discharging it, to, you know, putting the thing on and then seeing her level of confidence, you know, the second round go through the course just like everybody else did. It was phenomenal. So they made a pro video of that, of our whole experience there. They were out at the SHOT Show in Vegas, and they had it on a big screen looping the whole time, you know, for that. So that was for the sleeve. And again, it's only going to really feel the impact of that sleeve if you're engaging yourself in something cognitively. Just putting it on and watching TV, you're never going to notice any difference other than maybe you don't get as drowsy or fall asleep so quick. But it really is, it was designed initially for people with ADD and ADHD, so they didn't have to take Ritalin to calm down those areas of the brain. And then they found that musicians were like getting into the zone and jamming for hours on end, and like, man, I could keep going. This is crazy. It's like they're not even thinking and they're just playing effortlessly. Then athletes started getting into it. So that was where the golfers and so forth came. And I'm an amateur golfer. I've only been golfing since I got my life back a few years ago, but I love golfing. And every time I golf, I kind of slice it. So I have to aim over here to go that way. But at least I know I'm consistent, right? So I put the sleeve on, I hit the thing exactly where I aim it each time, which is kind of disturbing, but I guess, you know, it's better. I'm getting better at the game. So I definitely see huge differences there. I think even I got police officers here. I think, you know, while you're on the job, you know, you have to be able to snap and get your head right into the situation, and adrenaline and all that stuff. That would be a huge asset to have while I would be at work. So I do it when I'm having to do all my brain map reports. I got to sit there and cognitively create and build and cut and paste and all this stuff for hours on end. And it's very taxing on the brain, and I'm so much more efficient going through that. I hear other people do it to not get road rage while they're driving, just so it just chills their brain. So there's lots of benefits for that. And especially cognitively wise, you know, you want to be able to be as sharp as possible, and have that quick response time, you know, and be able to stay in that zone. Because, You know, they've done all that study with the heart math, you know, with police officers. And if their resting heart rate's 55 and they have the first call, they're out there, it's up at 110, and it's down to like 95. Now that's their new resting. Then the second call of the night, it spikes to 135. Now 110 is their new resting state. So to be able to have something to regulate that down, I think the NeuroVAX patch, you know, as far as blood pressure and all of that goes, would be a great asset, you know, for that as well. Just to be able to flow through, you know, each emergency a little bit easier and better, and not have it keep building into you having a heart attack, you know, or a nervous breakdown. You know, I've worked with a lot of police over the years, and you know, was heavily involved in law enforcement before I was a chiropractor. So in martial arts and all of that. So I think that's another huge asset for that product.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mark. And I know it's we're going late, so if anyone has questions, we're happy to follow up later. I'm going to let in the call here, but just by saying, you know, I think we all know people who would love to sleep better, some children who need to focus and get their homeschooling done right now, and some parents who need to not be so reactive to want to rip their hair out when their children are not wanting to do their homework and they're still having to work full-time jobs. And I think there's a lot of use that can be, you know, just helping humanity. And I feel so excited that we have this technology, and thank you so much for your time, Dr. Mark DeBrincat. Marla, thank you so much. Joe, thank you everyone for coming on live. If it's possible, we will make this recording available for, you know, anyone who wasn't able to listen tonight, but they wanted to hear the information. And just a quick disclaimer that, you know, we're not curing, treating, preventing, healing any disease or illness or issues. Again, when you give the body back what it's been missing, some phenomenal things can happen. And again, wishing you all well throughout all of this that's going on. Please sleep well, be well, and be happy. And we'll talk soon. Thank you.